Welcome one and all to what's left of the week and what's left of me. I'm John Iadarola, but you know who is altogether in terms of himself as a person, but altogether delightful? It's Brett Erlich. Brett, how's it going?
Well, you proved you're not having it together theory right there with how you tried to introduce me. Geez, it kind of fell apart. And you're wrong, because I, my friend, am too hot on the mic. And then also, I'm sick. I don't like it.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of the Phoebe voice vibe coming from you.
Yeah, it's not what I want to be doing with my day, is having just a sore throat and a little bit of schmutz.
Okay, because when you join my show and 30 seconds in you say it's not what I want to be doing with my day, it hurts. But anyway, I'm glad to have you here. The news is actually very exciting. I'm simultaneously, as I said to Brett before this, very excited for the show, and also, oh my God, we've got so much going on. But anyway, there's a lot going on. Donald Trump might be sued again. I think that makes 40, I don't know. Updates on the killing of Jordan Neely. Twitter might have a new CEO. And for those of you who are younger than 25, should you be allowed to vote? Prominent Republicans think, maybe not. And that's just in the first hour. You know, you move on to the aftermath, and we've got Marjorie Greene desperately trying to get a good soundbite and failing utterly in it, and a transphobic supermarket, as well as
John, you can't leave. The show's happening.
Of the week. I forgot. We do chores on Fridays, everyone, but it's a fun chore. It involves throwing away utter garbage. So everyone, get ready for that. I have gifts I have to, I'm gonna show off during the social break, taking up a little bit of space. But anyway, very excited to have you all here. Thank you so much for joining us. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. And if you wanna send us some comments, tweets, super chats, we'll respond as we go. You might even get yourself a Blue Apron gift card. How fun would that be? But with all that said, Brett, are you ready to talk about some news?
Yes.
You look so serious there. You look very tan recently, by the way. Have you been?
I am.
You're glowing. You look tanned, rested, and ready to talk news.
I went to a music festival outside and got tan there.
Oh, that's true. I did hear stories about you apparently, the mere sight of you has inspired men to violence, apparently. So anyway, that's
a guy farted at some ladies we were with.
He did.
One,
anyway. If you want more of that story, Anna tells it on the Wednesday bonus episode. So if you become a member, you can go check that out. For now, though, we've got news to talk about, so why don't we jump into this? From everything that we could hear and see, it really seemed as if the crowd at Trump's recent CNN town hall was all in on the whole MAGA thing, cheering and laughing and snickering and generally making fools of themselves. But is it possible that we have been too hard on them? Now, apparently, we're now finding out from a report, many audience members at CNN's town hall, former President Donald Trump, were disgusted and bewildered by the spectacle, but were told to be respectful and not to boo. Republican political consultant Matthew Bartlett said in an interview with Puck News, the floor manager came out ahead of time and said, please do not boo, please be respectful, you are allowed to applaud. And I think that set the tone where people were going to try their best to keep this between the navigational beacons. Is that what happened? And that if they felt compelled to applaud, they would, but they weren't gonna have an outburst and they weren't gonna boo an answer. In a TV setting, you hear the applause, but you don't see the disgust. So Trump did not have the entire room on his side, make no mistake, even if it certainly came across that way on TV. So look, if that's what the floor manager came out and said, then I wasn't there. I can't dispute that happened, but I can dispute a little bit of what he says there. So first of all, in a TV setting, you hear the applause, but you don't see the disgust. Well, it is TV though, not old time radio news hour. They could go to a shot of the crowd and show the disgust if they wanted to. They went to crowd shots to show the raucous applause, the laughter. Were the cameras off when that disgust was registering? And the idea was, okay, lots of people desperately wanted to show that they were against this guy. They were all told to keep it between the navigational beacons. I don't know, I mean, I guess the laughing at the victim of sexual assault, that isn't taking us out of the navigational beacons. Maybe he's trying to make the case that there were all sorts of people there, and some of them were abiding by the rules, and others were crazy and they happened to like Trump. But I don't know, the end result is still that it really did seem as if a lot of people were put in that audience that were primed to love every single vicious, horrific thing that he said. Bro, what do you think? Am I being too hard on the audience? What do you think?
No, the rules were stupid. The rules weren't even in line with their stated goal. Their stated goal was to be respectful. But a rule against booing does not ensure that the audience vibes are those of a respectful, kind, decent group. What you're doing is denying the fact that some people go woohoo as an attempt to vehemently be an a-hole. And that's all we saw. And so instead of banning disrespect and allowing respect, they just allowed the behavior of the Trump people to go however the Trump people wanted it to. And they disallowed the behavior of the respectful people to happen in a respectful way. And so what you ended up having was essentially something very similar to a laugh track on a sitcom. It's something that they put in there. Point. So that it was some of his comments were getting the exact same. It might have literally been tape from when Al Bundy would walk through the door and then they have to pause for a minute because everyone's like, yeah. That's what it was. Yeah, and so exactly, and they're stupid. And then if you're asking like, was this calculated by the CNN people to be evil and in support of Trump? No, they're just that dumb. I will stand by the idea that these folks are just dumb. They didn't want something to be a boo fest. They didn't want it to seem like CNN had this guy on and then allowed folks to just be mean to him. Yeah. They wanted to have a civil discourse, but in the meantime, they let Trump come on there and have printout tweets and just hold court his way. It's unilateral disarmament. And so I'm not against Trump having a town hall. I'm against whatever stupid decision CNN made after that.
Yeah, I think I'm still a little bit against the town hall, especially this early. It's not like we're in the thick of the race. They have an obligation. They're choosing to engage in it early and probably repeatedly. But I think whatever, if it was the rules, which I still don't think it's the rules, I think they found a ton of Trump-loving people. Maybe not the entire room or whatever, but I think they wanted the reaction they got. I think it's dumb. I mean, look, also, how about a rule? How about this rule? The crowd should be as respectful as the candidate is being. How about that? When he's calling Caitlin Collins a nasty woman, then they should be able to respond in some way, and perhaps not booing. Perhaps booing triggers people too much. I've recently been watching wrestling again, and so I actually have a suggestion for how you can lodge your disapproval with what people are saying. There's a thing they do where whenever the person has a pause in speaking, everyone simultaneously yells out the word "what." And if you watch it, it is shockingly effective at taking the wind out of people's sails. So anyway, I'd like to see that. Maybe I'll edit it at some point. In any event, this is an attempt to, I think, rewrite the narrative of the response from the crowd. But there's a lot of attempts to own the narrative going around, and I want to turn now to one such attempt. Donald Trump is obviously claiming victory coming out of his town hall, and even kind of defending CNN. He bleated, "People are criticizing CNN for giving me a capital F forum to tell the truth. I believe it was a very smart thing that they did with sky high ratings that they haven't seen in a very long time. It was by far the biggest capital S show of the night, the week, and the month." It was the most watched program on cable news, yes, that day. So that's fair. It got 3.1 million viewers, which in the context of cable news is good. Well, it's particularly good for CNN. I don't know if that's particularly good for Fox for some of their shows. It wasn't the ratings draw that some of the Trump, debates or town halls were back in 2016, but it is still early. Maybe if they do this again in 6 months, which they will, maybe it'll do better then. I don't know. He went on to say the radical left screamed, take it down," during the show because they saw that I was making so many important points on the border, energy independence, the Afghanistan catastrophe, inflation, the economy, which he wants them to default on the debt. Russia, Ukraine, which I won't say who should win, who's to say. Many minds were changed on Wednesday night by listening to common sense and sheer, in quotation marks, brilliance. If he's going to refer to his own speech as brilliance, I do appreciate him putting quotation marks around it. Brett, what do you think?
So I'm seeing that Tucker Carlson was getting about 3 million viewers as the highest rated show in cable news.
So this is good for CNN then.
It's fine. I don't know. Everything is in realignment in America right now. I don't know where it's going to shake out. CNN has a lot of like headwinds and I don't think what they're doing now is particularly beneficial because they were always the ones that tried to appeal to quote both sides. Yeah. They never really took a firm stance one way or another, and that's what they had going against them in a news environment that reinforces partisanship. So they were always up a creek in their decision making, and it's just similar to how their rules were. They're just making a lot of decisions that aren't actually solving the problem they have. They're just making decisions to, like, they're losing. They lost to Trump. Trump's gonna say nice things about them because they just did something that was beneficial to him. He reinforces that behavior, but don't confuse that with loyalty or friendliness. He's going to give you positive reinforcement so long as you're helping him, and negative reinforcement as long as you're not. Because when he was on that stage, he was disrespecting CNN. He was disrespecting the former Daily Caller reporter Caitlin Collins, who's been on Fox News to say that George Soros is a foreign-born communist who's trying to change our lives and have open borders. And they gave him a former Daily Caller reporter, and he still treated her like trash and walked right over him. And that is how Donald Trump won the primary in 2016. He went to all the people who were like, "You can't do this. This is CNN." And he said, "Watch me now." He got everything he wanted.
Oh, he totally did. And I really do think he will, like, if what they wanted was for the ratings, but then also, for these conversations to be happening, I suppose. I think they're still worth having, but if that's what they wanted, then they got what they wanted, so they're almost certainly gonna do it again. I would imagine the first is gonna be the most successful, but I could be wrong. I think that we could still very much be in a lull where some people are tapped out of politics from the last election. They're taking some time off and they'll eventually re-engage. That is possible. In any event,
if I was at CNN, I would do the next one with Donald Trump and like someone he could just smack the crap out of, just like an Asa Hutchinson. A what?
Maybe a DeSantis, honestly.
No, don't do a DeSantis. You keep that. The next one is like people are gonna get tired of just having Trump go up. It's gonna be the same thing because he says the same thing every time he's there. You need to give him a different format that's still friendly to him for him to show up and agree to go up against like someone who's running against him, or have Kennedy. Or get like Marianne Williamson on there if I was him. Be like, "Oh, hey, I'll debate the people that Biden's afraid to debate."
That's a clever framing. I would watch that. Right. I wouldn't mind seeing that. In any event, look, if you are one of the people working at CNN, if you theoretically didn't want this to happen, then I guess this puts you in a little bit of a tough patch. But also, it's CNN. How surprised can you actually be? In any event, as another aspect of the attempt to sort of own the narrative, some figures at CNN have recently come out and defended what happened, including Caitlin Collins, by the way. She was talking about it. But I want to jump to this video of Anderson Cooper arguing for why, even if you hate the idea of this town hall happening, why you should be happy that it happened.
The man you were so disturbed to see and hear from last night, that man is the front runner for the Republican nomination for president. And according to polling, no other Republican is even close. That man you were so upset to hear from last night, he may be president of the United States in less than 2 years. And that audience that upset you, that's a sampling of about half the country. They are your family members, your neighbors, and they are voting. And many said they're voting for him. Now, maybe you haven't been paying attention to him since he left office. Maybe you've been enjoying not hearing from him, thinking it can't happen again. Some investigation is going to stop him. Well, it hasn't so far. So if last night showed anything, it showed it can happen again. It is happening again. He hasn't changed, and he is running hard. You have every right to be outraged today and angry and never watch this network again. But do you think staying in your silo and only listening to people you agree with is going to make that person go away? If we all only listen to those we agree with, it may actually do the opposite.
I think there is a version of what Anderson Cooper just said that could have a great deal more value than the final draft that he decided to go on the show with. Ending it with, oh, do you just want to stay in your silo and not hear from Donald Trump? Some of the people who you were saying just want to stay in their silo have heard from Trump thousands of times. They've actively engaged with politics from the very beginning of this, before he became president, through his presidency, through the cages, through the coups. I think a lot of them very much know the threat that he poses. They understand the appeal that he has for not half the country, Anderson Cooper, get it together, but 31% of the country or whatever. Their opposition is not necessarily just their desperate desire to never have to hear his voice again. There can be other arguments. I'm not even saying that they're right. I'm just saying that he was attempting to appeal to them and then decided to insult them near the end. And also I would say in a larger sense, yes, okay, you can say there is value to reminding people of the stakes. Even if you wanted to be biased and say the threat that he poses, that's true. You're a 24-hour news network though. There are many ways to do that. Having a live town hall is very much not the only way to do that. Hell, having a taped one that you can intercut fact checks to, that you can, theoretically not show the vicious mockery of a sexual assault. Like there are other ways to do this, and he is presenting this incredibly simplistic false dichotomy of we either do a live town hall where he gets to rant conspiratorially, or we don't do anything and you guys are living in a safe space. I don't like that presentation, Brett. What do you think?
Yeah, Anderson Cooper, that is his argument. I was gonna say it, but essentially, yeah, that's his argument, is that you need to, like, any town hall is the right answer. Anything that we have is indefinitely the right answer. But like, you didn't need to blow the guy for like an hour and 10 minutes. That isn't it. You didn't need to just take it from him for an hour and 10 minutes, CNN. That's you handled it wrong. It's so stupid, it's so transparent. And don't scold the viewer, you jerk. What is this? Why is Anders, like, I know, like, I think he has a kid now, so maybe he's like in dad mode, but don't talk to me like I'm your child, buddy. Like,
it was
I respect that you've been through a lot for millions of years as like a Vanderbilt who voluntarily went in like foxholes in Chechnya, God knows why, when you were 17. Like that is Anderson Cooper's background. I remember seeing him on Channel 1, like very dedicated to the proposition that we should do journalism. But like, don't yell at me because I'm calling out that your entire network just got smacked in the face, open-handed, for a straight hour.
Yeah,
you're stupid. That is a stupid argument.
I think you're right about everything that you say. I would also just add, maybe this shouldn't matter. Maybe people are gonna hear this and think that this is completely irrelevant. But let's say that we accepted what he was saying, that something like this forum does need to happen. I would say to Anderson Cooper, do you understand why people might be providing additional scrutiny to your network specifically? In the same way that the Voting Rights Act had an extra layer of scrutiny for certain states, it's understanding the history of certain contexts, in some cases geographically, in this case in terms of the news. We know what you guys did during the 2016 election. We know what turn you've made in the past year and a half. Simply saying that someone should have a town hall does not mean that you guys should have a town hall. And it doesn't mean that if you guys are the ones to have the town hall, that we're not gonna question the actual motivations. Not necessarily the motivations of Anderson Cooper, but the motivations of the board, of the CEO. It seems to be clearly following in the history of attempting to jack up ratings and generate profit by providing a perhaps dangerous venue to Donald Trump. So, or maybe it's both, but I think people are right to be suspicious.
Dude, like, did he watch it? That's all I wanna know. And can you, in your heart of hearts, Anderson Cooper, say that that was well executed and accomplished? Was that the only way to have Donald Trump on there and get people, quote, out of their bubble? The answer is no. Like, I tuned in for a second because like technically I was on call in case we needed to grab extra bits of it for our coverage on main show. And I turned it on for a second and I was like, I can't watch this. This is horrible. It's so painful. I hope nothing breaks. And honestly, I'm gonna ask for time code to go get because I can't like familiarize myself with it while it's happening. But and luckily, when they needed the clip of him saying that E. Jean Carroll's cat was named Virginia, like I was like, God, please let this be on Twitter already. And it was, so I didn't even have to go in there and find it.
But also, and you sort of, I think, started to hint at this in the beginning of your response. Like one of the things that Anderson Cooper is doing there that we have, I think that Chris Licht also did, it's this very convenient framing of it. Wherein, did you guys notice that the fact that he was insane, the fact that he was disrespectful, the fact that he was conspiratorial, that just demonstrates more of the stakes, which means however bad he is, they're more right to do it. If he was to have jumped on Caitlin Collins and mauled her like a honey badger, well, then that just demonstrates how bad of a president he'd be, and it makes it more newsworthy. Like they have framed things so the more dangerous and irresponsible the decision was, the better the decision was. But that's masterful.
Their rules, like to put like a final point on the laugh track feel from a sitcom. The reason that they have live studio audiences behave the way they behave in sitcoms, and even on like Disney Channel shows that are not shot before a live studio audience, the reason they put the laugh track in there is, I hate to break it to everyone who thinks that they just think for themselves all the time, it's to teach you what to think.
Definitely.
So the reason, so by telling all the boos to shut up and all the cheers to be there, you get a sense that is false, but you get a sense that everybody loves Trump and that CNN is just getting essentially like, I don't know,
you're 100%
embarrassed
right.
for you know.
Yeah, it's the most blatant emotional manipulation possible, honestly. And probably intentionally. That said, we do have to get to this last section, starting the graphic 12, because we teased it in the title for this. So why don't we jump to that? Apologies to the TD. I've been very difficult this week, I admit that.
There you go.
Less than one full day after Donald Trump was found civilly guilty in the sexual abuse lawsuit by E. Jean Carroll, ordered to pay her $5 million, he decided to go on CNN, have a town hall, and then repeat the exact same claims that found him in this legal trouble that he's in. So that theoretically has consequences, and we're gonna turn to those now. So during the event, he claimed again to have never met Carroll before admitting that, okay, he has actually met her. He called her a whack job. He said that she only won the trial because of a rigged deal. I guess everything's just rigged. He can't even be bothered to come up with new like excuse adjectives. It's just all the same thing. He said again, physically, she's not my type. And now that I've gotten indirectly to hear things about her, she wouldn't be my type in any way, shape, or form. He said that about the woman who he's been found to have sexually abused so that a crowd of people on live TV could laugh at her. She has since responded saying she was asleep at the time and did not learn of his comments, calling her claim of a decades-old sexual assault fake and a made-up story until the following morning. It's just stupid, she said. It's just disgusting, vile, foul. It wounds people. She said she'd been insulted by better people, though. Now she is weighing whether to file a new defamation lawsuit against Mr. Trump. Bear in mind, she already has one additional defamation lawsuit that is still proceeding, but I am not enough of a lawyer, and unfortunately, Adrian is no longer the program to know if you are found civilly guilty of saying statement X and then amount Y, if you then just say X again, is that baked into what you already paid with Y? Or can they just haul you in again and add it to your tab? I don't know how that works, Brett. What do you think?
I know that, I don't know. So in criminal court, there's double jeopardy. You can't be tried twice for the same crime. But if you do the crime again, it's like, I think if a serial killer gets out of jail and kills again, it's not like, I guess, I don't know. Yeah, there's no way that he should be allowed to do this kind of stuff. Just it doesn't pass the smell test. It's not like you just bought a license to keep being horrible. If you do it again, you should be able to get held criminally liable again. And it depends. And he's not just paying her all this money. He's paying a bunch of legal fees on his own. It can't be good for him. And my contention with Donald Trump is you just have to remind people that he's just so much. He's just so much, and it's not good. And he is reminding a lot of folks in this era that he is so much, and he's not good. I think the CNN town hall made you rethink that, because the CNN town hall, he was horrible, but people were cheering. So maybe he's just fun, like a contemptible cad, but still like affable. Yeah. But with this, like the guy was found criminally liable in a sexual assault case, or civilly liable in a sexual assault case, and he is going to have to pay $5 million. If those kinds of lawsuits keep coming up, I just think there's a certain amount of fatigue he had on people before, he's going to continue to have on them now.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. It's one of the reasons why I'm not wholly against it, in that, he did lose in 2020, partially because we knew so much of what he was, and maybe to Anderson Cooper's limited credit, I guess. Some people might have forgotten a little bit. He hasn't been as in the news over the past 2 years, so it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see if this makes him owe millions more dollars. I feel like the next trial should be pretty quick. You can present the first one as evidence and then show him saying the same thing. Feels like you could wrap that up before lunch, but I'm not a lawyer. And by the way, to my prior comment, everyone, I just meant Adrienne was on the show yesterday. We talked a lot about legal stuff. She's not on the show today. She's not gone.
He worded that weird. Anywhere. He worded it weird. You were right.
Apologies. She's still with us. She's just not still on the show from yesterday. So apologies.
She's unavailable today. I know, because Major reached out.
There we go. There we go. Okay, well, with that said, we're gonna take our first break of the hour, but lots more to get to, including updates on the aftermath of the killing of Jordan Neely coming up after this. Okay, I always watch the chat for breaking news. Hunger Games, I'm imagining that's a joke, not actual breaking news, but thank you. If you're just joining us now, Brett's here. It's Fridays. We have a lot of fun planned, and I'd love it if you'd hit the like button so people know we're live. The fun is not here just yet, though, so I'm gonna need you to buckle up as we address some serious news, starting with this.
The man accused of killing a homeless street artist on a New York City subway surrendered to police. There's the pictures of it right there. He is inside the precinct now. We expect to see him again very shortly as he heads to court.
He's dealing with the situation, like I said, with the sort of integrity and honor that is characteristic of who he is, characteristic of his honorable service in the United States Marine Corps, and he has held up.
So yes, it took longer than a week, but there are actually charges now against Daniel Penny, US Marine veteran, who of course killed Jordan Neely. He is facing second-degree manslaughter charges. The maximum penalty theoretically that he could face as a result of that would be 15 years. You saw their statements from his attorney. I'm gonna read you just a little bit more of what they had to say in response to these developments. When Mr. Penny, a decorated Marine veteran, stepped in to protect himself and his fellow New Yorkers, his well-being was not assured. He risked his own life and safety for the good of his fellow passengers. The unfortunate result was the unintended and unforeseen death of Mr. Neely. Adding a bit of my commentary right now, let's say that we accept that, that's what manslaughter is. It's not necessarily intended. We have people face charges for even fully accidentally doing things through literally no fault of their own. And I would argue that this is a case where if you wanted to imply that there was some fault, there is room to do that. In any event, we're gonna get into our discussion of what we think about these charges. But first, I do wanna provide a counterpoint from the legal team for Jordan Neely's family.
I want to address something that we heard that Daniel Penny is saying. He is saying that he saw Jordan ball up his fist. And I just want to mention to you this. On May 1st, I'm sure the police questioned him. I'm sure that everybody read the statement that he and his attorneys put out. Was that anywhere in the statement? Was it anywhere? It was not. And I'm telling you this, watch Jordan Neely's story get worse, according to Daniel Penny, and watch Daniel Penny's story get better. Daniel Penny is getting a chance to rewrite what happened in the subway that day as time goes by. He's gonna come up with more and more things to make himself look better, because that's the only way that he can escape the consequences of what he did.
Well, look, that is definitely a possibility as a legal strategy. We also had a number of witnesses, though. It is possible that they will testify. We'll end up seeing whether the accounting that is given by Daniel Penny's legal team is consistent with what others say happened. But I do want to go to you, Brett. It wasn't guaranteed that there were going to be any charges. This one, you could theoretically see it as a significant charge. What do you make of this?
Yeah, manslaughter. I don't know. I don't have the facts of the case before me, and manslaughter is definitely lower than murder. Frequently is just like, well, the events kind of unfolded, and there was a time when you should have done something differently, as opposed to I decided when I woke up this morning that I was going to go murder somebody because I hate them. But yeah, it's for me, the takeaway from this is like, what can we have happen on the subway? Like, what can we as a society have happen on the subway? And we as a society cannot have folks take it upon themselves, completely untrained in law enforcement, maybe in military, but completely untrained in law enforcement and not in that jurisdiction. We can't have them just suddenly headlock somebody and choke them out till they die. We can't have that. So a lot of folks would say, well, we can't have people who are on the subway acting erratically. Agreed. I don't think we should have that. I don't think we should, and I don't think there should be people getting murdered on the subway. But these are not all the same scenario. And in this scenario, it seems like they landed on manslaughter because, yes, it was some a disturbance on the subway. But we can't have guys like this be like, well, I'm a Marine, I'm gonna choke him out because this is the job I've given myself right now.
Yeah, or I guess at the very least, you could have the expectation that if you believe that you get to be Batman, then do not choke the person to death. You introduced a massive element of risk and didn't work out the way we're assuming you are being accurate in saying you didn't intend it to. If we accept that he didn't intend to kill him, he still did stuff that had a very high chance of killing him, and it killed him. That's why we do not have one charge that can be lodged against someone who does something that results in the death of another person. There are many different gradations. They did not invent the concept of manslaughter for this particular killing. This is a very standard thing. And I think it's important for us to recognize that, because there are gonna be a lot of people who are gonna attempt to convince you that that is not the case. That this is the first time anyone has ever faced any legal time for something other than an intentional, planned out hit. By the way, the attempt to sort of control the narrative is definitely started. Why don't we jump into Fox's response?
This is a racially charged prosecution. It's because the defendant is black and the Marine is white. I want to be clear about that. And the individuals who assisted this Marine were people of color. So I think this case is going to go nowhere, but the motivation is based on race. And the left always want this scenario, Sean, a black victim, white assailant. But this Marine was trying to save those individuals on that subway. And I guarantee you, every one of those individuals are gonna testify on his behalf. And that's the issue here. But this is all politically motivated based on race. This is the ultimate insulting use of the race card.
Yeah, well, Curtis is right. Who is ever gonna wanna stand up and help defend the innocent on a subway train, knowing they may be prosecuted in the end?
Maybe someone who is not going to end up in killing someone, perhaps, I suppose. There are consequences for actions. It doesn't feel like I should have to explain that to conservatives. Personal responsibility, personal accountability is a thing that they used to talk about. They've clearly moved on from that. By the way, like many of you probably, the second I saw the Leo 2.0 hat, I thought, well, I'm very curious what that means. I'm also horrified to find out what that means. In this case, it's not as bad as I thought. It is apparently what he calls himself after he has sort of reinvented himself as a Republican. Okay, that's a thing, I guess. In any event, others are attacking the fact that this will have a trial at all. Again, he's not in prison for 15 years. They're not freaking out that he was found guilty and will spend 15 years in prison. They are freaking out that there will be a trial at all. They do not think there should be a legal process here. We should just skip that and start giving the guy speaking opportunities at CPAC or whatever. That's what they should do. So Cernovich tweets, Jordan Neely terrorized innocent passengers for years. He tried kidnapping a 7-year-old. He beat down a 64-year-old man and a 67-year-old woman. The hero who stopped him now faces criminal persecution. The Antichrist is rising in New York City. I feel like you're kind of burying the lead if you believe that the Antichrist is rising. But also, I want you to understand that all of this, Jordan Neely did X, Jordan Neely did Y, Jordan Neely was bad, is a very long-winded way of saying he deserved it. Now, the fact that Daniel Penny didn't know anything about that, he had no idea about anything that Jordan Neely had done, means that all of that is, from a moral and ethical point of view, utterly irrelevant to what we're talking about. Morality is not determined ex post facto based on a character analysis of the person who you killed without knowing any of that stuff. But anyway, and you can bring up Dana Loesch too as Brett launches into this. Every single one of them is actively lying intentionally about what happened, about why there are charges as a result of what happened, because they want what happened to happen again. Right, what do you think?
I mean, a lot of these guys don't live in New York. They don't know the experience. Leo is talking about other people taking opportunities to act selfishly while he himself is wearing a hat that is branding him. How am I to take you seriously? This is like the pull your pants up, I can't take you seriously crowd. Like, I'm sorry, grandpa, but like you look ridiculous. You look so stupid, and I can't take you seriously because you've turned your appearance into not a discussion of justice as you stand there next to Sliwa, who himself wears a stupid hat. Like, it is a self-branding exercise. So in this case, if I'm to evaluate what I see before me, I have to dismiss you because you are insane. You're intentionally just talking this way. You've branded yourself as Leo 2.0 to do it. This is your business. So yeah, fine. You can't indict someone else for in a cynical manner while acting in a completely cynical manner yourself. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The hat kind of again distracts from what's going on with the other guy. I'm not actually familiar with what that outfit.
I don't know. Mayor. It's like
why all the red?
But it's like an actual uniform of something. Why does Sliwa wear the hat?
Then I guess that might be fine then. Yeah, look, we want to prepare everyone. Today is going to be, I mean, Fox, what is the Five going to talk about other than the fact that there is nothing better than accidentally choking someone to death? And no one should face criminal charges for this. No one, by the way, should not choke in the future. They're not even like actively arguing for heroes to learn from this or potential vigilante heroes to learn from this and act in another way. They just want the status quo to continue. And if that results in people being murdered, then that's fine from their point of view.
His beret is for the Guardian Angels, an organization which he himself founded and obviously dressed and decided he really liked that beret.
Okay, that's fine. It just with the red hat next to it, it seemed as if they were going for some sort of themed thing or something. But anyway, with that said, we do need to take our second break of the hour. And we come back, Twitter's got a new CEO, maybe? We'll break it down after this. Come for the dillying, stay for the dallying. That's what I always say. Okay, with that, let's neither dilly nor dally. Let's jump into this. According to reports, Twitter's got a new CEO coming. That is a clear statement made by Elon Musk. I don't know why we would question it. He would never lie. Anyway, it is rumored to be, although there are some disputes about this, NBC Universal's veteran advertising sales leader, who has now stepped down, Linda Yaccarino, considered one of, according to Axios, considered one of the most formidable advertising sales leaders in the industry. She would bring a level of professionalism and experience to Twitter's ad sales effort that the company has lost since Musk took ownership. Okay, let's say that we accept that. She's an expert on that. She's got the connections and all that. It's still Twitter though, and he's still Elon Musk. And however much she's gonna become the CEO, Okay, like at one point, Logan said that Shiv was gonna take over. Did anyone buy that she would be the one pulling the strings? Elon Musk is going to get involved in everything until he sees some other shiny object that he wants to play with. Like, I feel like it might be a well-paying job for her. Maybe she likes the challenge. Maybe she's just a hard worker and wants the challenge. I feel like she's gonna be blamed for the continued failures because fundamentally the strategy of the platform, we've seen no indication it's gonna change. It has been increasingly designed to facilitate right-wing nonsense and attacks. That is what is making the advertisers flee, not a lack of institutional knowledge, I wouldn't think. I don't know, Brett, do you disagree? Like, how much of effect do you think she could have, assuming it actually is her?
Hires at this profile sends signals, and the signal it's sending is that it's leaning into its ad sales.
So not the membership.
Not membership. Now, there's tons of hires that have been made at companies where someone takes the job and is undermined at every turn. And they probably should have seen that coming, but they take the job anyway so that they can say, I used to be the head of ad sales at NBC Universal and I got that CEO gig. Now, here's other stuff about advertisers. In order to appeal to advertisers, you either need to have like really good data that serves up the perfect thing to the perfect person, and then you need to get a bunch of people who don't care what how they're perceived because their consumers suck and they don't care about it. Or you need to find the middle of the road as fast as possible. You need to do things that are advertiser friendly. And so what the owner of the company, Elon Musk, has been doing is stuff that is in no way advertiser friendly. It is only based on controversies and crap disturbing. And advertisers hate that. So either he's giving her the keys to the kingdom to say, listen, I tried it my way for a while. I got a lot of right wingers to sign up with blue checks and everything. So I brought in that kind of revenue very quickly. But it was at the cost of advertiser revenue. You shore up the advertiser revenue. Either she's given complete control to do what she wants in the advertising world, or she's not. If she is given complete control, I have hope for Twitter to kind of come back. If she's not given complete control, it's just gonna be a rambling wreck for another few months until she resigns or gets fired.
Yeah. That would be my fear. By the way, in terms of other possible effects, really quick, we're gonna present this as not really even evidence because it's so hard to say whether this is evidence of who she truly is and what effect she'll have as CEO, or if this just shows that she's a savvy person who has been ingratiating herself to Musk over the course of months to get the job. Bear in mind, she interviewed him at some CEO thing or whatever recently. She has tweeted out that like she appreciates his commitment to free speech, like all of the incredibly easy to do in the case of Elon Musk ego stroking. But on Twitter, here are some people she apparently follows, according to Max Berger. Chaya Raichik, the Libs of TikTok person, Jesse Waters, Michael Schellenberger, Ron DeSantis, that's fine, he's a prominent figure, the Babylon Bee, Giorgia Meloni, that's an interesting inclusion, May Musk, I don't even know May Musk, Cat Turd, Vivek Ramaswamy, Tulsi Gabbard, Barry Weiss, Sidney Powell, Lynn Wood, Jack Posobiec, the Libs of TikTok, that makes sense, Ian Miles Chung, Andrew Sullivan, Richard Grinnell, Tim Scott, Mike Pompeo. Some of those I think are perfectly reasonable. Some of those are deep cuts to insanity, I think. That you're following Lynn Wood at this point, like let alone all the right-wing grifters on the list, but Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood. So if you believe that maybe this is someone responsible taking the reins, there's really like two alternate reasons to believe that that's probably not the case. It's either not the case, I think, because no, she actually loves these people. You could say she's just doing research, but Lynn Wood, come on. Or she understands that these are the people that Elon Musk loves. And so is she gonna be the person that reins in their worst excesses? I doubt it. That said, she might not even get the job though, because did you know that she apparently worked as the executive chair of the World Economic Forum, an organization that many right wingers believe to be like a vicious hive of scum and villainy or whatever, like a place for literal lizard people and Satanists. I don't know why they think that, but they do think that, and we'll put up some tweets of various prominent. I have to assume they're prominent because they have a blue check, and that bespeaks authenticity and influence. Are freaking out because she was part of an organization that was pro-mask and pro-vax or whatever. They're literally bringing up lizard people. Brett, any final thoughts?
I mean, I'm looking at who she follows, and she follows a lot of other people. It's just harder to see them. She follows like, I don't know, the Krasenstein, and like, and the Today Show, and Ron Howard and Miley Cyrus, like.
Well, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Jacob Soboroff from MSNBC.
See if it happens. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, well, we're gonna move on to our last topic. We'll check in eventually with Twitter and see what's happening. But why don't we jump right into this?
Vivek Ramaswamy wants a constitutional amendment to raise the age from 18 to 25 years old, but he says there should be some exceptions.
We want to restore civic duty to in the mindset of the next generation of Americans. And how we want to do it is to say that if you want to vote as an 18-year-old between the ages of 18 and 25, you need to either do your civic duty through service to the country. That's 6 months of service in either military service or in a first responder, including police, fire, or otherwise. Or else you have to pass the same civics test that an immigrant has to pass in order to become a naturalized citizen who can vote in this country. At age 25, that falls away.
Why? I don't know, because he's not saying why he has decided that 25 should be the age. Who the hell knows? I mean, we can sort of fill in the blanks there. Because it would conveniently stop young people from voting, and they don't want young people to vote because young people don't like them. That's probably what it is. I don't know, maybe he was just watching Starship Trooper and he liked the idea that service guarantees citizenship. Maybe he liked that, I don't know.
I would like to know more.
Exactly. Look, the idea that this is going to encourage civic whatever, well, we can't have 23-year-olds voting. They can't pass the same test as anyone else. Okay, let me turn that around to you. Why should 61-year-olds be able to vote without doing that then? Why are you assuming that some random person falling asleep to Sean Hannity knows anything more than about America's civic tradition as a 23-year-old? By the way, did you also pick up the irony of we want to encourage civic participation as we constitutionally bar you from being involved in politics? I would argue that if you're an 18-year-old who's actively following politics and cares enough to vote, we should be encouraging that rather than passing a constitutional amendment to stop it. Brett, what do you think?
This is an argument against Second Amendment gun ownership without people going through a class to learn how to operate a firearm too, because both are enshrined as amendments to the Constitution. 18-year-olds can vote, and you can keep and bear arms. But he's basically saying, like, I need to put you to the test until you prove that you're capable of handling this right responsibly. Yeah. So that is a door opener, and I don't think he wants that door opened at all. And it's so clear what they're doing because they do it all the time, and they just don't want young people to vote. I would argue that younger people are closer to school when you learn this stuff, and older people they forget it the same way when I asked them to help me with my geometry homework. They never were able to help about that either.
By the way, I think your example is even stronger than it might seem, because while both of those rights are enshrined in the Constitution, the voting one is very specific about the age that you should be able to do it. The other one's vague. It's been interpreted that you should be able to buy a handgun at 18 or whatever, but it says you can vote at 18. By the way, I apologize if it seemed like I was saying that 61 is falling asleep watching Sean Hannity. That was a different example that I was giving. Although in my case, I actively fall asleep at the age I'm at right now to every episode of Top Chef I watch. So, it's different for each person. My point being that it makes no sense to apply to the By the way, it makes counter sense to say that the younger people should have to do the tests. The younger people are the ones that just got their education. Other people, it's been decades since they actively learned anything, unless they're watching documentaries or something. I think we should give a pass to the 18-year-olds. They're still actively taking classes. Anyway, This is all very obvious. They don't want young people to vote. and they're getting really embarrassing in the way that they try to bar it. It's not gonna happen anyway. With that said, that's all the time we have for the first hour of the show. Thank you everyone for listening and or watching. There's a lot more to come in the aftermath though, including the garbage people of the week, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Damage Report. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, John Iadarola. I'll see you soon.